Hello and welcome to Las Noticias. Today we have a very special guest, Rigoberta Menchuton, whom we will interview.
Hola, and thank you for having me. It is an honor.
Tell us a little about yourself and your life.
Well, I was born on January 9th in 1959, and I lived in Uspantan, which is found in northwestern Guatemala. This town is found in a region which is composed of Quiche natives. I lived on a farm with my family for most of my life. However, when I was 22, I left to go live in Mexico.
Now, why did you leave Guatemala?
My family was killed and I had to go into hiding.
Who killed them and for what reasons?
Soldiers of the Guatemalan army were responsible for their deaths. My father had recently joined the Peasant Unity Committee because he wanted land reform and improved human rights for the indigenous. He provided the group a meeting house. He also went on protest. Guatemala was a dangerous place at the time.
Dangerous? Why? What was going on in Guatemala?
Well, at the time, Guatemala was going through its civil war. It was between the government and many minority groups like the Maya, the Quiche, and other peasants. The war was extremely violent, as 626 villages and more than 200,000 people disappeared within the first 3 years.
What provoked this civil war?
There were several causal factors involved. Land distribution was a huge issue because of the unequal economic status of many of the citizens, especially among the indigenous. The elite and foreign corporations dominated the land, leaving most of the local population in an impoverished state. The indigenous did not feel that their culture was being respected.
Who was in power to allow such atrocities to occur?
Fernando Romeo Lucas Garcia was president before I left to go to Mexico. However, Efrain Rios Montt became president of Guatemala the year after I left.
Tell us more about both these presidents.
Both of these leaders were ruthless. They used violence to suppress any opposition they faced and had no mercy. It is no exaggeration to claim that they caused genocide due to the amount of deaths among the indigenous populace.
So, how did you respond to this violence?
Well, after the deaths of my family members, I was prompted to join the Peasant Unity Committee. What I was witnessing throughout Guatemala was cruel and unjust, especially for the indigenous. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, I had to flee to Mexico.
Now, how long were you in exile?
I was in Mexico for 13 years.
Wow, 13 years. That's a really long time. Now, did anything significant happen while you were there?
Why, actually, yes. In fact, a movement arose in the southern state of Chiapas, the Zapatista Rebellion. They had similar goals to those of the Peasant Unity Committee, such as improved rights and land reform.
What did the Zapatistas do to reach their goals?
The rebels used radical methods in order to achieve their goals. They seized several cities in Chiapas in order to show their desires for land redistribution.
Interesting connection. So, what prompted you to return to Guatemala?
Well, though it was still dangerous for me to return there, I felt the need to go. I had been separated from the country, so I wanted to see if any progress had been made for human rights.
So, what is your opinion on human rights?
Everyone deserves equal treatment. I cannot stand watching a group of people be neglected of the basic rights. The current situation must be changed.
How can one defend the indigenous rights? What are your methods?
I think we are asking the wrong question. It's not how can we protect them, but how can we respect them? To start, we must recognize that the indigenous are people like you and I. We are part of something bigger, and therefore a sense of unity must be shown. Secondly, we must be more inclusive of them into our society. Additionally, we must create laws that preserve our cultural traditions, because if we don't, we will be forgotten.
Yes, I agree with you. Now, how successful has your campaign been?
Well, fortunately, the Civil War has ended. I think I have succeeded in raising awareness. I was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1992 for human rights, and my biography, I, Rigoberta Menchu, an Indian woman in Guatemala, has become a famous work of literature. Additionally, I became the UN's international spokesman on indigenous peoples. However, I have yet to see my goal fulfilled, as much poverty and violence is still present.
I would like to finish with one more question. What can be done to prevent any conflict such as this one in the future?
Well, I think it is important that we always remember to respect one another. It is our differences that create unique cultures which lead to ideas and innovations. Also, we should make efforts to improve education so the public can be more informed.
This concludes today's segments of Las Noticias. Thank you for your time. Until next time.
Gracias.